8 minutes later, 52 minutes early. Let's figure out what it is. What's next on What's My Drawers Golf Talk? Welcome to What's My Drawers Golf Talk. Jim McCleary here. Why is it What's My Drawers? Because old club makers and club fitters are tremendous pack rats, and I am no different. It's about what's in my drawers in the shop. So this is where we talk about golf club repairs, fittings, and reviews. All so your scores can go low. If you would, check out this thing across the bottom. It says like, subscribe, smash that notification bell for more videos, and let's get this word out about the channel. If you would, I'd appreciate it if you're doing that. All righty, so number one is there was a typo. It should have started at 5:30 like our normal time, but since you guys got on here, so be it. That's what it is. We're going to get started. The reason why I would have really just said let's get started at 5:30. However, what it is, some of the platforms that I'm on with the YouTube or Facebook or even LinkedIn or some of them, if you get started late, they won't let you do it. So it was better to get started early than not get started at all. And that's what we're doing. So you never know. You just never know about some of those things. Okay, so how about that? So the question here is, what did we do this weekend? Well, I had the opportunity to fit a brother combo, and they were 17 and 18 years old, and have only been playing a year. And I'm gonna get the door. And they've only been playing a year, and they both shoot in the low 80s already. Talk about knowing no fear. It was funny because normally you would think that between a father and a son, the swing characteristics are very, very similar normally, and in this particular case, when it becomes to brothers, apparently they're nothing alike. You want to talk about yin and yang. So the older brother, kind of bigger in stature, I'm not fat, just bigger. The other one was very, very thin. And the older one had what I would call the textbook golf swing. If you wanted a golf swing, his was the one that you wanted. And he was swinging around. We started around 85. When he finally decided to get comfortable, he got up to 90, and that was with an iron. And it was pretty cool. And he had, we'll say, a very high control on his ball. Well, initially he did not, and the reason being is he was swinging so hard he was overranging his club. So they both had some TaylorMade stuff, and this is not a bang on TaylorMade, but they did not have the correct stuff. In that these guys are swinging well into the stiff range, and both of them had R-flex shafts. Now, with the older one, he had the KBS lights, meaning that very flexible in the butt section, a truckload of offset, and we were trying to figure out, or he was trying to figure out why he was left all day long. Well, he was overranging the club, and he didn't need any offset because his swing was such that he needed to hit this just tiny push draw, and he got there. So I gave him the very first club, and instantly he was swinging and finding the middle. And all of a sudden, he realized that, wow, I can actually swing now without having to hold back, and the ball will go where I want it to go. And that's what we worked on. I gave him the Mizuno. I gave him Mizuno Pro, and I also gave him the Srixon ZX5. And I gave him the Apex AI 200, and he absolutely 100% mashed the Apex club with a 90-gram stiff shaft DG mid on it, the one that I like a lot. And it was like a different player all of a sudden. And then once we put the thing together and then tested some wedges, we got him confident with his wedge game. And hence there it was. We also beat up on his driver pretty decent in that he liked the head because it was a little flatter, but it certainly needed a different shaft in it, and we found out the shaft that he needed. The younger one, different mindset, different game, and very much a swing like Jim Furyk. Went out and then looped around and came in and took everything. It was taking everything to the outside, and it was either a block or it was this hook. And the funny part was the younger one actually swung faster than the older brother by about 2 or 3 miles per hour initially, and he was a much more aggressive swinger with the Furyk loop per se, but made really, really good contact. And the same thing for him. He had some P790s with MMTs in it, but they were soft and they were light. And so we went back and I put him into some 105s, some stiffer one. Actually, I put him in a 105X, and he was only swinging about 102, 103. However, that's with a driver. He was in the low 90s, but his swing was so aggressive. His pull was hard. His spin through was hard. Everything was hard. So as soon as I gave him the X ball or the X shaft, all of a sudden the turnover, unless he really closed the club face, was this push, a bigger push draw, more to the middle, or it was the block. And that's always going to be the miss of somebody who swings like that. And I thought it was kind of funny because I saved the golf ball, and he hit it, and as I was collecting it, I saw a crack, and it did this. Broke a golf ball. I've had that happen a couple of times, but I haven't had it happen to the Callaway in a long time. So if you wanted to see what was inside a Chrome Soft, a new Chrome Soft, that's what it looks like. And it looks grayish, and I would say, yep, it is grayish. And notice how thin that skin is on that exterior. So there's a lot going on with that one. So anyway, that's where that one was at. These guys are very well controlled with wedges, and that was because they had a kind of a simulator type setup at the house, and so they gauged feel with distance, which was a good thing. I both got them putting extraordinarily better, and then the driver for the older one was just a reshaft, and the driver for the younger one was a different club altogether. So that's where we ended up with that. Did a bunch of repairs. It seems to be, let's see how many shafts we can get out of Heads Week. Did a lot of re-glues, and it was funny where the epoxy was only bonding to the shaft, not necessarily the hosel. That is an indication that the hosel had something on it, or the glue wasn't mixed up. And normally when the hosel has something in it, it's either somebody's put some cleaning solution in there after doing something with it and didn't allow it to dry, and cleaning solution is an enemy of good bonding. Pardon me. Or it just wasn't cleaned out altogether. So that's the reason why you run that wire brush up in there to get rid of some of that stuff. I've seen guys use sandpaper. It's okay, but it can get too aggressive. I've seen, if you had parallel tips, I've seen guys use reamers in order to get to the side just to make sure it's cleaned off. But I think the wire is probably the easiest and most common of them all. All right, last but not least, it was grip week. Robin, if you went to our Facebook page, Robin, I think, set a world record on gripping this week, and did at least 5 sets that I'm aware of. Okay, at least, and she did them all in a day and a half. and then in between all those, people were bringing in, hey, I'd like to get my driver done. Hey, I'd like to get my putter taken care of. Hey, golly. So, that's what it was for us. So, all right, which brings into...
That was 8 sets.
Oh, 8 sets, not 5, but 8. That's even a bigger world record. So back to the topic, new golf clubs, are they worth it? And I could probably bring out some, how should we say it, some data and stuff like that, but let's just go from from somebody that's not going to be very data driven. And so the question is, are new golf clubs worth it? The first answer is it worth it to you? If it's worth it to you, then yeah, because when it comes right down to it, it's your money, right? However, if you're gonna, typically when you buy new golf clubs, because it is a fairly pricey proposition, the question is, are you going to get the performance out of it that you're looking for? In some cases, you'll say, I am just unadulterated wanting distance. And is this new golf club going to give me that distance? In another case, you say, well, I want control. I want it to not go flying off one way or another. I want to know that when I hit it, it's going to go and it's going to fly in a certain way and it's going to land in a certain way. And then that's the way that one's going to be. Or you're going to want to say it's a particular look that you just could not overcome on your previous set. And the bottom line is, when we say all these things, because unadulterated distance could mean somebody that's older, somebody that's newer, or somebody that just wants to hit the ball further than his golfing buddies, which normally typically tends to be somebody that's, we'll say, a higher handicapper in a lot of cases. We all want to hit it past our buddies, I know that, but I mean, if that's your first and only concept, then that's where we're at. And that's where you're talking about these guys, where, when you hit a 7-iron in one of these two kids, the 7-iron was a 200-yard club. I said that you're getting in the barrier of almost too much. All right. Particularly if you're going to play white tees, a 200-yard 7-iron is probably going to be a little much. But if you can control it, it could also be a boon, right? So depends on how they play their game. The other one with control or distance control or control for flight is typically something that sounds from somebody that's a more accomplished golfer. They want a particular feel, they want a particular flight, and they want a particular control. And that's somebody who's been golfing a while. Somebody that can score low. I won't say scratch handicap. That could be anybody in the low 80s all the way down. It could be somebody in the high 80s all the way down. It's just something that they want because of they're looking, because their misses are pretty much will be not precise. Okay. And that's where you can go there. And those are pretty much the, in a lot of cases, that's it, right? And then in some cases, people are looking for new golf clubs because they broke old ones. There's always that. The other when we talk golf clubs, what normally doesn't pop up into the conversation is putters. All right, when we say, oh, new golf clubs, it's normally irons and drivers, and then secondary to that, it becomes wedges and hybrids or fairway woods, and very rarely does a putter come into the play. And I will say this, that of all of them, the putter is probably the one club that will create the biggest difference in your game once it's properly fit and it works for you. Because the minute you get confidence with your putter, boy, oh boy, do scores go low. I got it. I don't know what that is, but it's an itch. So anyway, in both cases, I'm still going to use these young golfers as an example. One of them had a putter that fit just fine as far as style and the grip goes. However, it needed adjusted for a lie angle, a little bit of loft, and once I did that, all of a sudden the misses stopped. All right, he when he putted, be ball. He was hitting the same ball, the previous ball, in the same line several times in a row, meaning that he was locked in and now he knew what he could do. We also talked about how to grab or how to hold on to the putter. In a lot of cases, what I see a lot of is that people that are golfing will hold the putter much like they hold their irons. And when this occurs, it allows a bit of a flip in their putt. And when they flip, one of two things happens. Either one, the face closes and it goes to your inside, or two, you get it and you catch the ball just right on your timing and it launches it or it tops it, okay? i.e. not a solid hit. And once we get rid of that. So how do you get rid of that? Well, there are a couple of ways. The easiest way is to just readjust your grip to go to what you would probably see on tour, where you just reverse it. You go from that to that, and then all of a sudden, the hands have to work like this. It's very hard for them to work like that. And it was amazing. I did that to the one, and it straightened him right up. And also, all we had to do was bend a putter, and he knew where to choke down to. Good to go. The other one, on the other hand, needed a bit of a different putter, a little bit heavier on the bottom, and he was the flipping kind. And the minute we got that taken care of, all those misses wide right or left disappeared. And that was one of those where we had to have a Z neck because he was straight forward, straight back, but he opened the face and closed the face. So we needed to weigh down the head a lot in this particular instance in order to slow the rotation down in order to get him square. Where in his putter, he was very close, but the putter was so light, it was uncontrollable. And that's what leads me into my other ones when I do fittings. If we know we like a heavy putter, chances are we know we're going to like a heavy iron. All right. And because he was an aggressive swinger, there you go. Okay. So that's where those came into play. But if you really want an impact on your game, really take a hard look at your putter. Right? Get fit, get the right lie angle, get the right loft angle, get the right style, get the right weight, get the right grip. And once you put all those together, it's like the ball falls the hole all by its lonesome. And that's where you get your confidence of putting through the ball. Lag putters become people that find the ball at the other side of the cup. People that hit the ball hard and they're blowing it by normally do not. It's a lot of that. Okay. Now, going back to it now again, is it worth it? So let's say in certain cases. So if you got a set of Ping I2s and you just love them, but you think it's time to change and get into some of these new ones. And let's just say you still want to be in the forgiveness category, like let's say a Callaway Elite or a Mizuno Hot Metal or a Wilson Dynapower or something along those lines. Is it worth a change? And the answer is yes. In a lot of cases, the Ping I2, although I will say this, the Ping I2 with the right transmission in it, i.e. shaft, can still be a very dangerous club to have in your bag. All right, because those things were massively, massively strong in the day. And when nobody was caring what lofts and angles, they are actually quite strong. Now, they are not as strong as the newer strong clubs like the 790s and the Elites and those. So there would be a marked difference there. Okay. If you went into something, say a middle of the road, because you go, oh, it's an old club, let's do a CB from Wilson or a ZX7 or something along that lines, then there might be a contest there, right? And it's all about how does it feel because shaft technology really has improved dramatically since that time frame, because they had the JZ lights, the ZZ lights, in all these different things, and all it was their attempt at trying to recreate that wheel. And nowadays, there's just so much to choose from that's basically better. And that could be true of their shaft program, and be said of their shaft program. So there would be something like that. So but now let's go the other end of the spectrum. You just purchased the one of two things: the old P790s or even an old Callaway Smoke or something like that. And now you got the new P790s and you got these new Elites that are out there. Got it. Are they markedly better? Are they markedly better? In a lot of cases, if you had to pay full price, the answer, in my opinion, would be no. All right, they would be no. Now, both companies, I am aware, offer, if you get into holiday seasons, and these companies provide a trade-in or an added trade-in where you get an extra bonus in there, then all of a sudden these clubs that were bucking up against $1,000 are now maybe $400 or $500. Then all of a sudden that's a question that for $500, is it worth that upgrade? In my opinion, it would be yes, because the leaps both of those companies put into their golf clubs since those evolutions of those clubs is, to me, worth that $500 price tag. Again, assuming length, loft, lie, shaft, all that stuff is correct. And I think that would be there. But again, it's your money. It's up to you what you want to do. So you have those opportunities, right? But are you going to be hitting it any better, worse in between than the other one? And again, how much is an improvement that you have to justify going to that new club? Does it have to be a whole club's distance? Can it be a half a club's distance? Can it be 3 yards distance? Or does it have to not veer off anything but that, right? Anything but that. Can we get our control? Does it hit my window that I want to hit? All these different things. These are all questions that need to be answered as to determine whether it's worth it or not. So from a guy that does fittings, whose job it is to make sure that you have the most correct fit in your bag, if you were previously fit to like a 790 or a Smoke Club and you were dead on solid with that, and I gave you another one, chances are you're not going to see a market improvement. Okay. However, if you're a beginner golfer and you've been golfing, say, 4 or 5 years, and you're doing okay, and you've got one of those, what I call golf in a box, because you just want to dip your toe in it to see whether or not you're there. And they're nice clubs to be sure, even like the Callaway X whatever they got out there and whatever the TaylorMades would be. And you thought, is this a better club? The answer is wholeheartedly yes, right? Wholeheartedly. Will you see market improvements? Absolutely, right? And so those are the questions. I'm just telling you, these are the questions that are asked of me when I'm doing these fittings. So the answer is, is it that way? The answer can be yes, and the answer can be no. Okay. Whew, we got all that. All right. Charlie, I'm struggling to remember what I poured here. Old Forester 1920, right there. I got some 1924. That one ought to be pretty decent. All right, so we'll see whether or not we got folks in here that are observant as you guys.
Old Forester, just like you.
Yes.
Did you tell them about your back?
No.
You can now.
Oh, I can now? Thank you. I got my peanut gallery loves coming in and out of the door. So this whole weekend, so here's the deal. The reason why I'm probably all messed up is this weekend I jacked up my back pretty good. To the point I was walking like one of the people off of the Lord of the Rings, just kind of bent over and working, and it was just all for nothing but sitting on the edge of our sofa, and I turned and a couple things popped, and I was like, well, that wasn't very good. And not thinking anything of it because it didn't instantly hurt, I stood up, and then it instantly hurt. So but like anything, like any other guy, I got one of those compression guns. I used that for quite a bit, took some Tylenol, put some heat and some cold on it, and trying to get it better. And I got to the point where I could move, and as just before the fitting start, we called the chiropractor to see whether or not I could get in. Sure enough, I could, but it was at the end of the day. So I powered through that fitting I just told you. And as soon as we were done with that fitting, I ended up taking off. So, and when I went through that, I went through the fitting, and sure enough, popped me right back into place. And they have one of those, I guess we'll call them a bed that has a handle on it, and it pulls you down and stretches you out. And I did that. And the minute I got done with that, I'm not sure what occurred, but I told the doctor, I was like, hey, man, I feel worse now than when I came in. And he said, all you need is some EMS. And I'm like, well, for me, EMS means emergency medical services. I'm like, well, yeah, I need some of that to be sure. And he said, and they go and they put these electrodes on my back and started hitting me with shock therapy. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it really took a lot of the tension out of the muscles, but it was still so jelly-like, it was hard to maneuver and not be in pain. Well, next day I'm walking around, Jiminy Christmas, in pain, but the more I just kind of sat still with it, the better it got. Well, yesterday we're out in the back. We're actually here. You see that kind of chair right there? There it is, one of those. And Robin hands me a lumbar pillow, which I absolutely despise. Says, hey, why don't you try one of these? And I put it in there. And I was like, holy cow, that's perfect. So the rest of the day, I was out running my my laser engraver and just watching the world go by and enjoying it and using that. And it instantly started feeling better. I'm not sure what that was, but I did. And today we had a stretch and flex out at the work. And after that, I'm feeling it's not, I'm about 90%. You know, I can't do a backflip or anything, which not that I could before. But now I can walk without looking like, you know, taking a two inch step versus a normal gait. So I'm feeling better. Let's put it that way. The healing power of whiskey and time. Okay. So let's get started. Charlie's saying, caught it. Yeah, it should have been that. But again, what we told you about the platforms. And I'm glad John sent us something. Otherwise, you guys be waiting until 5:30. Charlie says, it's supposed to rain all week. Good thing. The greens have been aerated, and this will help them grow quickly. There you go. The, you know, I ran across some of those where they're about, we'll say, 3/4 the way healed. You could still see the bumps from where the holes were. But this rain, same thing here, the rain. In fact, it rained again today twice. And the grass is going to grow just so fast. All right. John says, I read that Bryson's iron are swing 2 swing weight. His ping wedges are C2 plus with lightweight jumbo max grips. Is that considered heavy? Well, actually, in the scheme of things, no. What would be considered average is in the D0 range. D0 to D2. In the older times, D2 to D4. This one would seem very, very, very light. And if he is running with the light grips, those ultralight grips, the ultralight grips are very, 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 very light, meaning that he has some really, 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 really light shafts and what might be really, really, really light heads. In order to make that happen. Now, it could be that, you know, if he's still doing this single link thing and he has clubs that were made to, let's just say, that were designed to be 7 irons and he cut them down to 8, that's probably where he's at. Or 6s and made to 7s, as the case may be. It could look a lot like that. And, but C2, that's pretty light even for him because of the way that he swings. I mean, he's such an aggressive swinger. You wouldn't think C2 would be something that he likes. Now, I could see it being C2 if he wasn't using lightweight grips because the standard ones are very heavy, and that would make it swing weight that direction. That'd be on the light side. There you go. Look at Charlie bringing it all up. Yep. There it is, getting it started. All right, David Jones. James, I got out and played different course this week. Shot an 86 with 2 8s on par 4s. Ooh wee. Well, if you figure that, and that means that's 8 strokes less, and let's just say you take a bogey, so that's 6 strokes less. That's an 80, bud. That's pretty good. All righty. Yeah, I get. Hopefully, it was in the beginning, in the middle of the round, so you could recover as opposed to the end. Fiddling with the grill? No. Although I did cook last night. I cooked some chicken breasts and I cooked some country western ribs. Chicken breasts turned out good. The ribs, the country western stuff, not so much. Only because I put barbecue sauce on it too early. There's Prospector Pete. How you doing? Looks a lot of folks are making it on here. Just recently, I'm starting to see vendors upcharging for grips and shafts that used to not be upcharges. Hopefully, that's only temporary. When will customers hit the ceiling? Travis, that is one heck of a question. That one is very, very hard to say. Because if you like it, you're going to pay for it. In a lot of cases, if you have a particular grip that you like, chances are you're going to pay for it, unless it gets unsightly expensive, and then you'll start looking for alternatives. I'm not sure where a lot of those upcharges are coming from. In a lot of cases, I don't know what their idea of it was. Mizuno is probably the last vestige of here's the case, here's the price, and here's all our shafts that you can pick from. And I would imagine that's going to stop pretty soon too. Herman, what do you say, buddy? Glad to see you make it on. Robin saying thank you. Frank made it on from Cleveland, Tennessee. What do you say, man? Robin's talking to everybody. That's why she's a professional gripper, Jim. Put them in front of her and she knocks them out. Now, the funny part about that you're not kidding, dude. When I called her on the way home, and she's like, I got 4 sets done. I got 4 more to do with 2 more coming. I'm like, what? And a couple of them, I guess, backed out or whatever. And then she was ordering grips in order to get them back there in order to do some of these things. And then I'm building clubs in order for her, and then we're putting grips on those. So it's just this flood of grips. Yep. To take time. Oh, she always takes time out for the root beer, man. Oh, she did. But I fed her some snacks while she was going on. All right. Always listen to that stuff. She was caught up on Saturday and we started early. Yeah, that is correct. Charlie's holding up our conversation for us. Maybe when the other guys decide to show up. Charlie says I check the grip on the putter, make sure the flat part of the grip is parallel to the face of the putter. Ask me how I know. Uh-oh. This ought to be good. Parallel to the face of the putter. Are you sure it's parallel, dude? Not perpendicular? But it's worth asking. All right. Matt makes it in. No rounds. All right. No rounds. How much does everyone watch professionals to see how technique works, or is it just entertainment? Ooh, that's a good one. For me, Matt, when I watch it, I'll call out and I say, oh, he's using this golf club, or oh, he's using that golf ball, or oh, he's got this grip on his clubs, or oh, that shaft in there. I'm the equipment guy. But then I will take a look at some of the swings to see how they're hitting. As much as I just love seeing Scotty Scheffler win, but it's so hard to watch him swing because I just can imagine. Because I had some kids in here and they were emulating Bryson DeChambeau. And I'm sorry, but that is one hell of a swing to try and emulate because it's hard. It's hard because it takes a lot of practice to make work. Even self-admittedly from DeChambeau himself, it takes a lot of work to make sure that it's okay. And that's it. So oh man, that footwork that he has is something else, and I hope people only use it if they have to. All right, the pros swing so fast, hard to see the technique. No doubt, a lot of cases that's true. I like seeing it from the back because you can get like Charlie said, the camera can get ahead. And it can also make look like that shaft is bending a lot when it truly is not. That's always another problem. Just got done cutting the grass, enjoying the early segment. Good. That's good to know, Matt, Jim Goof, John C. message. Well, maybe, if I could get here on time to do it, maybe we just start a little bit early. I don't know about 430, but maybe 445. That would really get into some prime looking at time. All right, agreed. But do you watch how they play out of trouble in different chip shots? I most certainly do. All right. Does Jim know he started an hour early? Jim does know he started an hour early because of Charlie and John. We can thank them for it. And so when we do this, I set this up. It's in a platform called StreamYard, and it asks you for the time. So when it starts out, it says today. We don't want to do it today. I give it a date. I put 5 and I put 30, and PM is normally part of it. And I looked at 5. I thought I hit it, and apparently on my way out, I must have hit the roller ball on it a little bit, and it became 4:30. And I thought there was no way, but sure enough, there it is. Yeah, I know because she will not let me not know. There's Jerry. How you doing, buddy? Now early starts an extra drink. Well, maybe I will. Charlie, I think this either the 20 or the 24 might be in a 2-ounce bottle along with the other stuff. Wow. Very cherry-like. Very dark. There we are. Robin's talking. Yeah, this one, Old Forester is always one of those that I like because it has a darker flavor to it than a lot of the other bourbons, and darker meaning when you see like a darker chocolate, that kind of flavor. It's a lot thicker, and I think there's probably one of the better ways of describing it. And when I use this glass versus a regular Glencairn, I get a cherry note, which I normally didn't get beforehand, and it makes it much, much, much easier to deal with. In 1920, everybody's like, oh, I like that 1920. Well, I'm here to tell you, 1910's no joke either. But it's just, I mean, and then when you get on it, and it's thick and viscous, like you'd like it, like an oily one, like you would like, and I believe that is Old Forester. So yeah, I like it a lot. And it slides down and it leaves a little bit on the finish. I mean, it's not harsh. I like it a lot. All right, Kent's made it on. Well done. But a blade is still a blade, Jim, so little can be done with those forgings, which is possibly why I've gone to the CB and tested the Cobra Pro MBs. You are right. When it comes to blades, you can move some stuff around, but you're moving it in tenths of inches, and muscles are moving. The muscle might move maybe a little taller, a little lower, depending on when they say to make. I mean, how do you make a blade more forgiving? Therein lies the trick. I believe that's the reason why those like the 245s from Mizuno have become extra popular, in that if I put the 245, in fact, it's right here. If I put the 245 and the 241 together, it'd be really hard to discern it. If I looked at that and I go, hey, look at that blade, right? Look at that blade. That's a nice blade. Well, no, it's not. It's the 245, and what gives it away is that sole width. That sole width is pretty wide compared to what a normal blade would be. Now, it looks forever. There's a better concept of it. If you see that, that's not, when you look at it from this perspective, it's still thinner than a lot of other golf clubs. And if you were to see this sitting in the bag, you would think, oh, that's a blade. And what it is, it's a very forgiving perimeter weighted club that's a hollow body, and it hits a ton, right? If I gave you the other one you looked at, and you go, oh, look at that. The difference would be is that the 241 really has a chrome finish on it, where that one's more satiny. That's literally the difference, right? And where you move that stuff around, you see the muscles move from a triangular shape to maybe a square shape to a rounded shape, but it's still muscle in the back. How much muscle in the back, I guess, is up to the designer. And that's why the Wilson staffs, the CBs, are such a good choice. And there's other ones out there like it, right? The CB is super nice. I think it hits well, right? I think it hits well. It's one of my favorites. I like the high radius sole, and if I would do it, I'd probably jack the loft on them about 2 degrees and go out and play them, and I wouldn't have a problem in the world with that. And other ones that are very similar is the 245. Actually, as far as design concepts are, is really quite different. It has a smaller cavity with more weight at the bottom and a much wider sole. The one that comes closer to that one would be closer to the S3 or the new Forge that they just put out. The Forge is probably a little closer. That would be one in there, right? And those are the ones that would work very, very well for that. The Cobra Pros are nice. I just don't think they have the forgiveness, even in CBs, as in comparison. There we go. Saying hello. Rom saying welcome back. Stretch, stretch, and more stretching. I'm starting to become a believer after today, and I was feeling pretty good about it. And doing that. And I got some stretches that you can even do in a chair from our professional that we've got. So, yeah, I probably will end up doing more. Come on, folks, hitting that liking button. There we go. We like that part of it. I did I left all my exterior stuff, my phone and all the other stuff, the laser engraver. I had one barrel head left, a big, nice barrel head, and I put the McGolf logo on it. And with a couple of, at Mrs. McGolf's advice, I put a couple of clovers at 3 and 9, so it might turn into a McGolf clock. I'm trying to figure out if I can put it up here behind me or not. Charlie also did some more flight bars that says pars and pours on them. I got a much better lettering on it. It's pretty nice. No doubt. Oh, no doubt. He's awake for once, so don't be mean. Listen to that. Come off of it 6 inches taller. Yep. Lawrence is in the house. What do you say, man? Kent, did those Cobras feel anywhere near as good as the CBs? Well, that would be a good one to ask him. Hope you feel better, Jim. So do I, bud. I think it's just a matter. The other thing that helped is in my truck, I've got heated seats where you can pick the whole seat or just the back part of the seat. And this morning riding in, I used just the back part. And because I have material seats or cloth seats, I think it transmits the heat a little differently than, say, in a leather seat. And it was very evenly dispersed along my lower and middle back. Man, oh man, talk about feeling good. I turned it off. I wasn't even a quarter of the way from the house, and I had to turn it off. And then just before getting to work, I turned it back on again. It made a heck of a difference. Chris Greenslade, what do you say? From the west of the UK, an old saying, no good having 1,500 pound when set of clubs with a 1 pound swing. Yeah. Sometimes it's better to look good than to play good. I've been super happy with his 923 hot metals with the 115 that are soft step. Those are good clubs, man. I mean, in comparison, again, if you wanted to jump up to the 925s, would you see a difference? You would probably see a difference in feel. You would probably feel a difference in the feel, but as far as performance goes and all that other stuff, probably not a lot, right? Probably not a lot. The look will be the look at a dress will be a lot different, but if you turn them sideways and you looked at them, you go, oh, okay, they're pretty close to the same, and you would move on. You have to get fairly specific to see the changes that they made. Would it be worth stepping up? No. But, and it's a good club. There's Sis, 58 degrees in Wisconsin. Well, that's because you're in Wisconsin. But 58 degrees, you guys are about in shorts by now, about that time frame, along with Kent. Better when I use the middle of the club. 10 years since I've done that, though. No doubt. All the clubs feel better when you find the middle, right? And the funny part is that's what I tell people when we talk about lie angle or when we do lie angle tests and impact tests. Talking about the impact test, I tell them we're going to do 3 golf balls apiece. It's always better if you hit the middle of the club face, but it's not necessarily required. That was our normal. That's my normal saying. That was pretty good. All right, so let's see what we got here. Oh yeah, that's a good question. Hello, Chris. Where in the west of the UK? Oh, we got some UK folks here. Again. All right. Charlie is the man, no doubt. Not the 8 irons. Oh, that's a good one. Hey Phil, what do you say? Yep. Happy Monday from Austin. Hopefully everything's going good for you. Hopefully it's not as wet as it's been here. Holy cow. It's been quite a bit. If you go back, we just been talking about our new golf clubs worth it, and we talked about the different situations and where they could and where they could not be worth it, and then the different clubs. When we talk about golf clubs, which golf clubs do we mean, right? Particularly putters or wedges or irons. Normally when we do that, we only get into 2 categories of irons and woods because those are the big 2, but it's the other ones that really make the difference. You get good with a wedge or get good with a putter, get good with both, you can score and beat a lot of people. So, and they'll say, well, you got to hit it really far to score well. Yeah, but you got to hit it close to the hole to be able to putt well too. So that's another one. All righty. Ken says, funny enough, the 8 iron doesn't finish the pipe. How crazy is that? The 8 iron CB doesn't finish the pipe. I don't know what that means. The stairs are sweet. Just find the right shaft and it's heaven. That is what he's done here as of late. And Kent likes the Tour V, but he still prefers the Modus. Well, if you like the Tour V, you're probably in that 115 range. Yes, the most tough to beat. And I like them. They are very, 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 very consistent. Matt says Scotty's footwork is unique to him, and it is, Matt. And it, like everybody else, every one of those guys has an idiosyncrasy. Some of them are less noticeable than others because, let's face it, not every swing is the same. Scotty, Rory, Jordan, JT, all of them are a little bit different. But what the thing is that they practice enough, they all find the middle of the club face, and they all know how to get their way around a golf course in order to hit it with the lowest score. And that's what sets them apart. Lawrence says, I had a couple good rounds this week, both in the low 80s, and both had terrible back 9s. Well, means you're a fast starter, and but still low 80s. That's not bad. Yep, there it is. Stunning shafts. The KBSs are in 122 heavy, in all honesty, too heavy for an old man. That's why I think the 115s probably come in at 110 range if you want to be specific. If you want to go a little bit better and still have it, 105s do the same trick. Phil K says he just watches. I watch to golf. There you go. He's picking up techniques. Good for him. There's Dan. It says Jim Rod got a few rounds in over the weekend, a little rusty. Jim, how draw bias is the Elite Triple Diamond Max? Well, I'm not sure there is a Triple Diamond Max head. If we're talking about a golf club, there's a Triple Diamond, and then there's an Elite X. I'm not sure I've seen a Triple Diamond Max, but you're the one that always alerts me to new stuff. So I'm sure right now Robin is looking it up and going, well, I don't know if there is such an animal, and we'll go look at it. Now, as what was released down here, and one of the other guys, Emilio, he found a triple diamond golf ball. And the golf ball, he says, is excellent. Very firm off the tee, and it wedges very, very nicely. So hopefully that's it. So we'll have to wait and see whether or not she shows up in here to tell me anything. To learn. Watches golf to learn. There you go. 105s. There, and the 110's pretty nice, I would imagine. Probably be a little softer, I think. If I swap them out, I'll be going to Modus, Charlie. There you go. That's what he's talking about, the 105 Modus or the 110. If you're talking about weight being a problem there, Kent, the 110's a newer release. Looks to be very, very nice. It's for a guy that may be just a little bit of an aggressive swing and a little bit lighter, so you might like it. You can try the Neo, comes in 95 to 98 depending on the flex. It does, and the Neo is really good.
Nothing yet, just Elite, X, Max Fast, and Triple Diamond. Fast is the only one.
Yep, Max Fast and the Triple Diamond. So I don't know where there's a Fast Max, Dan, and the Fast Max is basically an X model that's just super light, and it's not super draw bias, but it's weighted to help you get the club closed. 59 Waverly, so we're just a degree above Wisconsin right now. That's because all the friggin' rain that came through. All right, Slats is in the house from South Carolina, and he says like and subscribe, please. Please, please, please. All right. Kind of dragging here a little bit to get it past that 5:30 to see who shows up. Maybe we'll end up having to go a little bit longer. And Dan says, oh, by the way, the wedges he made are amazing. Well, good. Now that we got them all the same kind, right? Got them all in those raw. Oh, my goodness. Glad they're working out. There's our buddy. Steph, 4 hours ago, we're going to have a drink. Hope we're doing well. Well, we are. Thank you so very much. That's the beauty of a time change, man. Beauty of a time change. There's mine. All right. Viscous like motor oil? No, not nearly that much, but certainly, you can get some that are real burny and they just go, it's like drinking rubbing alcohol or something like that. Just nothing but burns, and there's no way it can stick to you anyway, and that is not the way this is. There we go. Robin talking back. Softball is on, so he's taking the niece to go do some softballing. Well, have her do good. Thank you very much. That was my sister. Jerry says he recently set up a hitting net in his garage and used the Rapsodo to measure hits. The Rapsodo is a nice little unit. The Rapsodo says I'm hitting my driver to the right, but when I go to the range, I'm hitting pull hooks. So what it could be, Jerry, is your setup. Okay, I am sure every one of these units has a setup issue. I take that because even my X3 which is built like, let's say the Mevo Plus. The Mevo Plus is a very nice one, and at about $1,400 or $1,200, something like that, it's very, very nice. However, it would take about 10 of those things to equal out my X3. And they both have setup conditions that they have to have. How far back you've got to be, how much you got to set up tee heights. You got to see how far the ball is going to fly so it understands what you're doing, those kinds of things, and see what's going on. Now, another condition could be, Jerry, is that when you're in your garage, that you're swinging, let's just say the roof or the garage, you're in between the rafters, you're swinging a little bit differently than you would be if you went to the range, where now you're feeling a little bit more free, and all of a sudden you're picking the club up a little higher or turning a little bit more, doing these different things that you would not be doing in the garage. That I've seen that as well before. There are 355s, Charlie. 355s. Another of the hollow bodies. I think if you were to, they're not fat, nasty ones. Matter of fact, hold on. If I was to show you the two, just to kind of give you an idea. There they are. That's the difference. I got to get out of the shine. There we are. So if you can tell, the only way you're going to tell is that. They're very, very thin on the sole. If you walked right up on them, and the muscle on the 241 is a little deeper, and that's about it. So I give them but I need that. So yeah, I'll take all that forgiveness I can get. All righty. Hey, Los is McGolf Barker. Somewhere, do you have any in stock? Maybe a large golf towel as well. Robin will hook you up. There we go. Taking care of that, no problem. Lauren saying hello to Robin. James Geiger, what's your opinion on low compression golf balls versus high for slower swing speeds? I've seen different testing and different opinions on YouTube. Well, as a whole, it depends on what you mean for slower swing speeds. 90-mile-an-hour driver is not what I would consider slower, okay? The 90 mile an hour with a driver is like the beginning, can be the beginning of the regular range, and depending on how you hit it, if you have this hard pull or tug, it could be, you could need a shaft that might be even a little bit more beefy, right? I've had, just like this 17-year-old, he certainly was in the stiff range, but by the way that he swung the golf club, I had to put him in an X-Flex, and it just totally straightened him right up. So, but again, 90 mile an hour is not something I would really consider a super soft golf ball. And again, at the end of my fittings, we talk about golf balls. And when we talk about super soft golf balls, what I talk about is it's in a category, in the performance category, that has two peers in it. One of them is the ball that wants to be like a tour ball that's not, and those are like ERCs, AVXs, Triads, Q Stars, E12s, that kind of stuff. Where the super softs are, number one is the Super Soft by Callaway. You got the Duo by Wilson. You'll have the Soft Feels and anything else that has the word soft in it for the most part. And those are for two categories. If you're hitting it now, if you are hitting at 90 mile an hour and you weren't really overspinning the golf ball, you're hitting a low spinning golf ball as a norm, you would probably like a softer one because of the zip that it would give off of you, and you probably wouldn't lose anything. However, if you're a normal spinner of the golf ball and you hit it with this 90 mile an hour thing, you would probably balloon it, and it would come down, and it would land a little bit short. Albeit it would feel great. It feels great coming off the club. It just doesn't perform because it wants to go straight up into the air, spins a lot, and then it wants to dive very, very quickly. And that's where I was at. So for a guy at 90 mile an hour, you're in that what I would call the performance tier, where they're softer, but they're not the softest. And you probably see a lot of good from say an ERC from Callaway, or a Srixon Q Star, maybe even in the Tour, a Bridgestone E12, something along that lines, right? The Wilson Triad, all those have different little tweaks and stuff for that particular category. and you should be able. You would like that better, I would think. All right. Makes me wonder how one survives so long without heated seats. Oh my God, man. I'm telling you what, those things. In the wintertime, they're a wonderful thing. Okay, there's Peter from Myrtle Beach. Can you use a 6-iron graphite shaft? Let's go back here. Can you use a graphite shaft? Hello. Can you use a graphite iron shaft for a hybrid? So if I wanted to replace my 6 hybrid with a 6-iron graphite shaft. I'd have to think about this one for a moment. 6-iron, 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 6-iron. Yes, Peter, and the reason why it took me so long, I was kind of visualizing the swing that you had when we were out there playing at Myrtle Beach. If you would have been a more herky jerky kind of guy, I would say no. But being a smoother swinger, yes, you could get away with one. Now it will play a little softer, as the head is probably going to be just maybe a touch heavier. I won't say by a whole lot. And then once you get put in there, you want to make sure that the length is proper for you. I play the Pro V1X and not sure I'm getting enough distance anymore with the higher compression, getting older now. Yeah, the 1X, James, you got to nuke those pretty good, and I don't know where this concept came from where they talk about, well, if I hit an X ball and I spin a lot and I swing slower, it's going to spin less. So that's not the case. Those golf balls are firmer and they have a tendency to spin more. And that's the reason why the higher swing speeds like them, because it does that compression thing in order for it to go out. So now guys that are playing down south that rely on the roll out, the 1Xs are great golf balls because they run like a scalded dog. And they're pretty good for that type of game. If you're playing a standard golf game, not so much. And one of the easiest way to do it is go get you one of those 2-ball packs of the regular Pro Vs. Let them go head to head. That's what I figured, Kent. That's why I said that. With my sister being in Wisconsin, they're at 58 degrees here. That's pretty much shorts weather for them. Here we go. After 8 years, he's going from the Miura TC20s to the Srixon ZX7s. I thought, and have you tried the 202s? No, I have not. I don't deal with Miura. Just because at the time I got into them, Efren, is they were very, very, they were more pricey than my area would allow to buy. I could probably sell a couple of sets here and there, but that would have been it. It would have been nothing more than a very expensive paperweight for me. I do like them. I think they're very precise, but they weren't very friendly to left-handers. So again, that was another reason that I didn't carry them, because I could either have a baby blade or some really ugly looking club, and I just wasn't going to go for it. So, but no, I have not. But I do believe that you're really going to like the 7s. Those are very, very nice. He ditched the 8 through the gap wedge and is using 11 hybrids 8 gap, and where I'm hitting the ball higher and longer. Wow. Okay. There's some of those sets that are out there, aren't there, that can do that. And that's kind of what they're made for, right? There's a whole lot more weight and stuff under the center of gravity of the club, under the ball, so you can get it there. Cool. Chris says he's on the outskirts of Bristol. Are you up north past Gloucester? Sorry. Okay. Maybe I should have said the flat part of the grip should be aligned with the flat spot of the putter face. If it's turned one way or the other a little bit, even one gets his hands aligned with the putter face. Yep. Oh, Kent's laughing at it. He says he's above the white wall in Yorkshire. Okay. Like I know where any of that's at. Like I know where any of that is at, but hey, I might have to go find out. There's my buddy Tom. How you doing, bud? Are Newton shafts worth the effort? I'd love to be able to tell you one way or the other. You're seeing a lot on the senior tour. They're getting a lot of push on the senior tour. I talked to the vice president down at the PGA show. They have a different approach at it with their stars or their whatever they're calling it, and trying something a little different. But I've not had one to try, so I really couldn't tell you. But based on what you're seeing in usage, maybe. But you got to get the right one, though. That's the real trick. It's like those, which I just reshafted one of those, the pink and green shaft. I wish I could. I'm having a brain failure on it. The very expensive pink and green shaft. They can be very, very nice. You just have to get the right one. Yes, they don't like those. There's Krister. What do you say? Saw you hitting some more stuff on the range. I didn't see what it was this time. I just saw you swinging. Uh-oh. Today he's got his minis driver. Was that what I saw you swinging already? Let's hear about it. Yeah, you got that new mini driver. I'm kind of up on that. Yep. More clubs. There's the question right there. Charlie's asking, have we had any more with that? Let's find out. Nope, got it delivered today. Hopefully I can test it on the course tomorrow evening. We'd like to hear about that one next week then, man. How about that mini driver? I'm kind of getting into the mindset that might work out pretty good. Definitely. All righty, missed the early start. Thumbs up, students. Yeah, that's on me, my dog Rex. That was me being a bonehead. And just to stay in line with the rules of the platform, I had to get in here in a hurry and get it going. Look at that. That's about the third or fourth time she was more than happy to tell everybody that I goofed. All right, Mac Del Vesco. I tend to have a steep swing and get derailed by a couple of iron shots per round that go nowhere. Apart from technique issues or any equipment tweaks that I can try. A couple. So there's a couple. Number one is if you truly are steep, then the first thing and the easiest would be check your lie angles. Right, check your lie angles so that you're interacting with the turf properly. That is huge. I can't stress that enough. You know, nobody likes getting hooked up with their toe digging into the dirt or even their heel for that matter, because it's really hard to control the club face. Now, why do I say it like that? You know, because we all know that we need to hit the ball first, the turf second. The unfortunate part about that is we rarely do that. It's always turf first, toe and ball second, whether it be in split seconds or in by inches. And that's the part you got to get used to. And if you're not getting it anywhere, that means either one, you're getting stopped into the dirt, or two, you're hitting in a very bad part of the club. And the first thing to contribute against that is getting good turf interaction, and that would be lie angle. The second thing is, if you're really hitting it heavy, is that you would look at something with either a lot of bounce, meaning a heavy radius sole so it can engage as it gets deeper, or something with a wider sole. And I don't mean like alien wedge sole, but as something that a little bit wider, a little bit flatter, so that when you get into it, it kind of stops its penetration as you're going through the turf, and you get through it that way. That's the second one. And third, and a distant third, by the way, is the length of the club. Well, not a distant third. We'll call it a real third. The club. So if you're a vertical swinger, we'll just go extreme. And you're a vertical swinger, you will need a shorter club to make that better contact. So an easy way to check that is by choking down a little bit each time. And don't just do it once and if it fails, oh my God, it's poor. No, do it 5, 6, 7 times just to make sure, and then maybe choke down a little bit more until you get to where you're hitting it clean. All right, Brad's on, loving the new Tacomos. Hey, good. Glad to hear it. Smaller face than the APs, but done great to slow me down a hair. Contacts closer to center, 78 and 81. Nice. Well done, bud. Very cool. Are they the 201s? I don't remember. I don't think. Are they? I'm going to go out on a limb and say no. Charles Brother will try and get some track numbers later, too. There you go. Why does nobody try and test the Spalding monitor? Honestly, my dog Rex, I didn't even know Spalding had a monitor. Will Darsaw, what do you say? Says, hi, Jim. Well, there's a big focus on fitting the correct wedge bounce to the player. However, with irons, how come manufacturers don't disclose bounce on their irons? This info is difficult to find online. And I would not disagree. And even with guys like me, when we go to ask it, it's very, very hard to come by as well. I'm not real certain on why they don't do it. Obviously, there are some companies that put it out there. I'm trying to think of, it used to be it was swing weight, length, loft lie, and offset is what you got. You very rarely heard anything about bounce. Now, we could talk bounce in a whole nother episode of this because the reason why you see it on wedges is because it's paramount on wedges. As the loft of the club gets bigger, i.e., 48, 50, 52, 56, that kind of stuff, bounce becomes very, very important. All right, and the reason being is, I might be able to do it. So if I show you this, and this is a 6-iron, and this is like a magnet thing here, and I go 1 degree. And you see that it's very little, right? But now if I go like this and I make it a 56 and I go 1 degree, you see how it turns more? It's a much more dramatic impact on the way that your face comes in contact with the ball, close or something like that. Now, the opposite is true. If the loft angle starts getting shallower, that change becomes minimal. And so you really aren't in need of that as far as contacting based on lie angle. Now, if you're wanting to change the loft and you go, well, I'm going to increase the bounce again, or decrease the bounce for that matter, at the higher clubs, it's not going to be that big of a deal. It probably starts becoming important right around the 8-iron. And it becomes more so at the pitching wedge and then paramount into the regular wedges. Efren, have you ever hit a wedge or sand wedge using 8-iron shaft wedge length? All the time, dude. All the time. Do that all the time. If I get to make them, that's how they're being made. To the point, Efren, when you see stuff that says spinner or special wedge shaft, that's exactly what it is. It is a higher flex 8-iron shaft cut down. That's how it goes. And that comes from Rifle. We can thank the folks at the original Rifle for that. Mr. Dr. Braley, and came up with that while he was coming up with the special way of cutting and mirroring and controlling flight and all kinds of stuff with iron shafts. And He came up, it was, no, I don't know, just about the time frame the original Project X came out. When you went through the rifle center classroom, you learned the basics of how to deal with rifle shafts, how to make them fit, all these other things. When you went to the advanced center, it became an advanced center, you started get to do experimentation, and that's where they introduced you to the spinner shaft. And that's exactly what it was. You went through all the calculations, but basically, if you needed you made a spinner shaft for that person. So if you had somebody that was an R-Flex swinger, you could go and get an S-Flex and make a spinner shaft specifically for that person. If you had an S-Flex, you go to X. If you're an X, you still got an X because that's all they made. Now what you would do is you probably go to the next weight class and go from there, because you could go get, then they had a lot. They had 4.5, 5.0, 5.5, 6.5, or 6.5, and 7.0. So they had a lot to choose from back in the day. Now, not so much. And that's where that came from. And literally, in a nutshell, what you did was you went up and you got the right trimming instructions for the wedge using the 8-iron, and you put it in there. Man, did that thing work well. There you go. There you go. So Phil uses the E12s or the TaylorMade tour responses. Now, my buddy Bob will use the responses when he's putting because he likes that. I think those are the ones that come with the big wide band on them. He likes those. John says, does anyone here hit a 1-iron? I put one in the bag to replace my 3-wood. Hello, what a difference. Length accuracy is off the wall. I think you would be... I think you'd probably be in the minority, John. The 1-irons, those things are you got to be an iron hitter, I guess. That's probably the thing. If you're an iron hitter, you're probably pretty good with hybrids, but in the fairway wood's probably a little tough. Oh, here we go. Peter says he loves his Newton shafts, and he has them in the driver, the 3, and the 5, and he's using the 4 dot, which means it's for a little bit firmer golf club. So there you go, Tom. We got, and Peter's a very accomplished golfer, so you could go with that. He likes them. James asking, Jimsmere, is there any way possible to counterbalance iron shafts? Feel lighter than non-counterbalanced shafts with the same swing weight. I'm always fighting feeling enough head weight with a counterbalance shaft. Very possible to counterbalance iron shafts feel lighter than non-counterbalance shafts, the same swing weight. Well, so here's the thing. What you're feeling is not necessarily what the counterbalance. The difference between the counterbalance and non-counterbalance shaft, just in the way it is that the balance point has moved closer to the butt of the grip, and it could only be as much as an inch, right? An inch, 2 inches max. So it's not going to be a radical change. That's where the difference is. And the whole idea of the counterbalancing is so that you could either make the club longer at the same swing weight or make it the same length and make it a little bit lighter in the head. So the real trick here, James, is that if you have a non-counterbalance shaft and you have a counterbalance shaft and everything is identical and they're both the same swing weight, one of them is lying to you. Right, or the counterbalancing doesn't. What it does is it's not going to make it like a D4 into a D0. It's going to make it like a D4 into maybe a D3 or a D2. It's not a lot. It's just lighter. Now, what you could do is if it's just the feeling of it being light, then ignore what the swing weight is and go with the feel. Okay, and in either case, the counter, if for some reason, let's just say the manufacturer, that's all they got is counterbalance shafts, then add just a tick of weight to the head. If you can pull them apart, put a 2 gram or even a 3 gram weight in the bottom end, you're good to go. And all that's doing is tricking your feel, right? Or if you have a non-counterbalance shaft, then it should come out a little bit heavier as a whole. And if not, you can always do the same thing. All right. So that says, funny you mentioned the alien wedge. I just dug it out of the bin and tossed it in my bag. I remember those things come out. You could take the wildest swings with that thing and just absolutely watch it pop up in the air and never once take a divot. Never once. If you took a divot with an alien wedge, you were literally looking to dig a hole. There's just no way. Par shooter, what do you say? Hey, Jim Robin, the digital display on my old GolfWorks frequency analyzer is going bad, so I replaced it with a Golf Mechanics one. So far, so good. Good. Well, the thing is, Par shooter, chances are they're made by the same person. So yeah, that's a good call. With the frequency analyzer, yeah. They're probably made by the same people. So if you just replace the display, not too bad. If you got a Golf Mechanics, the Golf Mechanic one is actually very good as well. I've got one. I left the old GolfWorks one. I had the laser one as well. I enjoyed it quite a bit. But I had GolfWorks was letting me review stuff for them, or Golfsmith. Golf Mechanic was allowing me to review them, and I had a buddy that was a budding club maker, and I let them get a hold of the other one. Mark Pasolano. Is the Mizuno shaft optimizer good for a starting point for shaft selection, lie angle, and other parameters? Thanks, Mark. Oh, you're going to get me in trouble. When they first started out, the answer is no. They were absolutely horrible. They had one, what they use is gyros and accelerometers and all kinds of stuff. And there was literally just one in the original one, and it was terrible. It recommended the same shaft for almost everybody. As they got smarter, as they usually do, they upgraded their optimizer, and now there are several components inside of it to get a little bit more. Now, the other part of this is they claim to be able to know what lie angle you would need, because it knows what the lie angle is when you put it in there, and it's finding you in 3D space. I would love to believe that works. The old school in me does not believe it, but I would have to put it up to the test. Now, as far as what the optimizer does that I think it would do very, very well, what it does, it clips on the shaft. And this is the funny part, is this is not new technology. This is old technology with new parts. And what it's doing, it's measuring the strain that you're putting on the golf shaft as you swing it. And like anything else, when you give it enough data and you compare it to the golf shafts that are in its inventory, it can give you a shaft that will work with the way that you load the club, which is what we really want. So to pick a golf shaft now with the newest optimizer, you could get pretty close. But keep in mind, it's going to be with what's in the inventory with Mizuno, not every golf shaft that's out there. Now I know that they have True Temper, and they have Modus, and I'm sure they have KBS in the lineup. So those are some of the big three. If you really want to go over the top and get Shimada and the other ones, that'd be probably hard pressed to find that one. As far as lie angles and stuff, I think I would be skeptical still to this day. I don't know how you would see it in 3D space. Does it mean it's impossible? The answer is no, it is very possible. But it could be a good starting point. So yes, there's your answer. The only place you can get them is with Mizuno fitters, Jesse, and only some of them. They offered one to me, and I turned it down. So somewhere, wherever you see, you might find a Mizuno fitter. Chances are they probably have a shaft optimizer. The other one is, I think if you go on the Mizuno site and search for fitters, they might actually tell you that they are using them. Everybody's saying hello, hello, hello. Any shop that does fittings, there you go. Just like we were talking about. Okay, Jerry says, my swing speed of the driver is 75. I have a large gap between my next club and can't get the 3-wood off the ground. I hit my 5-wood and it's 20 yards short of the driver. That would be correct, sir. So what you're seeing is at 75 mile per hour, loft has now become your friend. And at that particular loft, what we've done in the past is, because the idea of flight time is what gets you distance, right? And that's the reason why you're able to tee up a driver, so you can cheat a little bit of that and maybe not use a very heavily lofted driver, but in some cases you need to. So when we get to that point, the 3-wood doesn't go very well. What I'll do is we'll take a 5-wood and make it 3-wood length so that you can get the best of both worlds. Now, it might be just a tad heavy, which means that we might have to use a lighter shaft. And anyway, because we're making it more flexible, that becomes a very good possibility. And now you do that. And then what I would do is, if you like your 5-wood and you're not much of a hybrid guy, I would also take the 7-wood and make it a 5-wood length. And now you got a new 5 and a 7 that effectively are doing the same thing. All right. Now, if you have adjustable clubs, say, for instance, Callaway has a +2, meaning that you can add 2 degrees to it. So if you had like a 3-wood, you could adjust it to a +2 and get really, really close, because they're normally only about 3 degrees between the clubs. You could get really close. You could test it like that as well. Well, there you go. Okay, that'd be neat. I like to see him myself anyway. We'll take care of you. Hi, all. Glad to see everyone is finally able to get out and swing these days. Yes, as soon as my back heals up. Just played 9 holes, and she who must be obeyed shot 2 over 38. Oh, wow. Short game left me wanting, backyard, here I come. Well, look at you go, John. And sounds like mommy is quite the little golfer. My spin through the driver's 35. Yep. Already, we took care of that one for you. Basically double soft stepping, 8 irons into wedges. Yeah, kind of in a way. That's one way to look at it, but you might want to, if you're using taper tips, yes. If you're using parallel tips and you trim it to an 8-iron length, you might trim it just maybe a hair more and get the same cause out of it. I would agree, Charlie. Have a minor correction on the 3. Srixon wood, it's about 235 off the tee with no wind. Behind me, softer fairways. Thought I was crushing it. Well, 235 is still 235 at 3-wood, still not bad, dude. You know, I'd take that. It's not 275 to be sure, but 235 is very respectable. All righty. Hello from Texas. Love the show. Well, thank you, bud. And I love that AI thing. I have to get there. I was trying to AI on Canva, and it just needs more info to do better, because right now it just wasn't helping me. Efren says, just had Mizuno education for shaft optimizer and TPC. Been using it for 4 years, and I use it for almost my fittings. Also the new tech for wood and ball fitting. There you go. Charles Bartholomew managed to drop about a 30-footer on 8 that saved par. It was like watching it in slow motion, but finally found the slope into the hole. Very cool. Those are the neat ones, though, because now you get your excitement up, and when you're all done, you throw the fist pump in the air. Hope you guys are staying dry. Well, not really. We thought we were, and then here come the rain again. I'd agree again. Charlie and I are the same wavelength, man. In cars, hell, I wanted heated seats in my golf cart. Oh, I think if you had asked, some of them probably had got them. With the newer golf carts now. Around here, I don't know if it's out there, but a new golf cart company, and it's almost spelled like Bettinardi, but it's Bettin some, and they are making a really it's a neat looking golf cart, man. I'd have to say, and it's got like an iPad for control in the middle. It's got stereo stuff across the top. It'll hold 4 people, even golf bags, all kind of stuff, and it's actually quite reasonable. The only real problem is I don't know anything about parts, and you have to go back to the dealer. For me, that would be a couple hours away, and I'm not willing to pack up a golf cart and drive that far just for them to tell me that they can't fix it or something along that lines. But they are very cool, I have to admit. Jerry's got a 3 and a 5. We'll try a recommendation on both clubs. Hey, not a problem. Now, the other part you want to look at, Jerry, I would try just straight up like that first. And then if it starts working, and again, if you're not an aggressive swinger, I would lighten the load in the shaft a little bit if you go to do that, and then see how that works out. In the 8-iron shaft wedge trick, don't you move up a flex? You do. You move up a flex. I don't necessarily. If you move up a flex, weight just comes with it naturally. That's just what happens. But yeah, good call, man. Okay, made it to the bottom. Did an hour and a half, even with them starting early. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry for this, but that's what it is. Actually, you made it almost an hour and 40 minutes, so not too bad. I do have a video now. It's I did a bore through for a Titleist 975D to make it into a mini driver. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to push that out there, and so we'll have something to watch. I fully intended on, I got all these clubs I can hit, and then the back went out, and so I'm kind of stuck again. So we're going to have to get back into the club making ways. All right. So as usual, guys, I really appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. I'm glad everybody joined in. We got a couple new people from around the globe. And again, hit that thumbs up, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Join us again next week. Watch for that video. And as usual, let's see your scores go low.